What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're going to check out the Laboga Mr. Hector plugin from Aurora DSP. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take awesome high-gain amps, overdrives, guitars, cabs, speakers, pickups, and plugins. I record them with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-standard thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes with last night's pizza grease on their glasses, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so this is my first plugin demo in quite a while. This is the first one that I've really been interested in a little while. Not many super high gain amp plugins have come out recently, so when I actually saw Christian Cola demo this thing yesterday, he released a video on this plugin yesterday, I kind of wanted to jump on it myself because it had been a little while since I had done a plugin demo. So here we are. Now, if you guys are not familiar with the Laboga Mr. Hector amp, you are really missing out. And I have kind of found that this amp has gone through some phases of popularity, much like a lot of amps do, but this one has been kind of out of the limelight for a while up until recently. Now, when I first got into guitar gear around 2010, this amp was still one of the popular, early boutique models for the super high gain thing at the time. I remember seeing quite a few of them listed in the Craigslist in the surrounding cities of where I'm located at here in Erie, Pennsylvania, and always was kind of, interested in them, but didn't really know much about them and never really looked too deep into them. And not long after I got into guitar gear, it seems like their popularity kind of faded out around 2011, 2012. I just basically stopped hearing anybody talk about them. I stopped seeing them being posted for sale in the local Craigslist ads. I didn't really hear much about them for a long time, up until about, I would say, a year, maybe 2 years ago, where all of a sudden I see people on the Facebook guitar groups talking about them again. And it just so happens that the guitarist in my band Subdue that I play drums in, Jason, grabbed one of these amps recently, and he brought it to practice not that long ago, and I was really impressed with what I heard when he brought this amp to practice. Now, it kind of reminded me of a 5150 in the way that the mids are. It's just a very mid-forward, kind of, that same cocked wah type of mid sound that the PV5150 has, but overall the amp sounded even more aggressive. Like, those mids were pretty much impossible to dial out from what I remember of Jason, kind of messing with the controls while we were practicing, which honestly, it made the amp cut really, really well. It made it sound really aggressive and stand out in the mix very easily. But if you're not a fan of the tone that comes out of the amp, then you're gonna have a hard time dialing out the inherent tonal qualities of it. But other than that, it's a pretty simple high gain beast. It doesn't have a presence, a resonance control. There really isn't anything much in the way of shaping the EQ. So to me, it's very much a set it and forget it type of amp. Dial your tone in and just leave it, just riff. You know what I mean? So Laboga amps are located in Poland, and I believe that they are all pretty much like hand wired, and at this point they're kind of just building them to order. I don't believe that they are stocked in dealers anywhere, but I could be wrong. If you're a Laboga dealer, please let me know down in the comments of this video, because I kind of want to get one of these amps for the channel real bad. After hearing Jason's, I thought it sounded awesome. But I'm getting sidetracked. So Aurora DSP has released a Mr. Hector plugin, and it looks a little something like this. Oh hey, what do you know? It looks like the amp. Okay, so when we jump into this plugin, we are greeted with the amp here, and this is scalable, so we can just boop, 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 make stupid noises and look like idiot on camera while we adjust the size of the amp to our preferred sizing. Okay, so that should be good. Down here on the bottom, we have a number of different controls. We've got our input gain. We have a noise gate, which I have cranked up to -61 here. And then on the bottom, we've got our stomp, which is where we get into the pedals that go before the amp, and we've got, you know, a green tube screamer style overdrive. We've got a tone shaper, which from what I read on the website, it seems like it will affect your attack. It'll give you a little bit sharper, a little bit brighter attack the further you have that knob dialed up. And then over here we have basically a TC integrated preamp style boost pedal. On the amp, we have very few controls to really dial things in. As I said, it's a very simple amp. We've got a channel selector here because there is a clean channel, but we will be going nowhere near that because we are belligerent amateurs and we do not like music for weak-minded people. We've got a master control, we've got a treble, a middle, and a bass control. And then we've got a mid switch here, which kind of switches the mids into a different frequency spectrum. It makes them react a little bit differently. Over here we have our volume and gain controls, pretty standard stuff. And then we have a bright switch on the volume and gain controls. So we'll explore all of that. Next to the amp, we have a cabinet section, and Aurora DSP has provided a few different impulse responses and a couple different cabinets for us to play around with to dial in. We've got 4 different speakers on each cabinet, I believe. 3 different speakers, a couple different mics. We've got options as far as the distance of the mics go, and then the location of the mic on the speaker, as well as a left and right dial here on the bottom. So there are plenty of options to dial in the impulse responses the way that we see fit in order to fine tune our tone. There's also an air control over here, which allows you to basically add some like top end brightness, or air as it's commonly referred to our signal to kind of brighten things up a little bit. And then we also have a tuner and an output dial over here. And finally, we have an effects section. We've got an EQ here. We have a limiter, a ping pong delay, and a reverb. I'm not gonna touch any of this stuff because that's all, you know, pretty much self-explanatory, nothing crazy here, and I don't really do effects anyway. So we just wanna get into the meat and potatoes of this plugin, which is going to be the amp and the cab section. So I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna turn off the TC integrated preamp. We're gonna go over to the amp and we're going to hear what we have just going straight into the amp as it is. All right, so pretty low gain as it is. Let's go ahead and bump that gain up to about noon. So fairly tight to begin with. Overall, the sound almost has like a cocked wah, like I said, signature to it. It's very ho, very throaty and nasally. So in my opinion, this needs a little bit of treble to brighten it up. All right, so decently tight, definitely not crazy. I think it'll benefit from a boost, but not bad on its own. Let's go ahead and bump that tightness up even more. Now I should also mention I am playing my Laboga Espada here. This has the evergreen pickup in the bridge, which is kind of like a slightly hot PAF, but overall it's still a little lower on the output, a little bit more range to dial things in. So I am going to click this mid switch and see what a difference that makes. So it makes the mids and the top end much more aggressive. If you turn it down, it almost makes it sound kind of dead. It really shaves off a lot of the top end aggression, and there is no presence on this amp, so there's no real way to bring that back unless we dime the treble. And although that's similar, it still just seems like the mids are more aggressive with the switch in the up position. All right, so let's go ahead and bump those mids up. That gets really kind of nasally and congested by boosting those mids. And what I remember from Jason's Mr. Hector is the mids are very forward. They are very, very forward in the overall sound signature of the amp, but in person, it almost seems like they're more aggressive, where here it seems like they're really kind of rounded and just kind of nasally sounding. I definitely like the tone much better when we back the mids off because that makes them much more manageable. Let's go ahead and see how this bass control affects everything. I think that is the most low-end response I've ever gotten out of a plugin before. That's crazy. The low end definitely has a massive effect by dialing that up. So that's pretty cool. Sounds good. I like that control actually has a nice effect. It definitely seems focused a little bit lower in the frequencies than some other amps' low controls. Over here, we have our bright switch. Let's flip that off. Wow, that makes a massive difference in the overall brightness of the amp. Again, if you were to click off this mid switch and this bright switch, sounds like you're playing the amp underwater. Like it's almost kind of necessary to have both of those on at all times, or else your tone is going to be really kind of muffled and subdued overall. All right, so yeah, definitely a huge difference by having those on. Let's go over to the Stomp section. Let's check out this green Overdrive and see how that sounds. Wow, that is extremely MIDI, extremely round in the mids. Let's pull that gain back a little bit. I don't like that overdrive at all. That is really, really just nasally. It pretty much accentuates all the things that I don't like about the stock tone of the amp when you push those mids up. Makes it very, very nasally sounding, very congested and round, and just not that great in my opinion. Sorry, but not a fan. Let's turn on the tone shaper. Definitely adds some clankiness and some attack to the strings, especially on the palm mutes. Kind of reminds me of like something like the Horizon Devices Nano Attack, where it just adds that modern clankiness to your palm mutes and stuff. Turn that off. Let's check out the TC Integrated Preamp clone. Preamp with an L. I like that the best so far. Let's pull that volume back a little bit. So with the built-in overdrives and the TC integrated preamp, the low end doesn't really tighten up. It's kind of crunchy. That helps a little. Let's turn on the tone shaper too. We also have the diode tube control over here that I forgot to mention earlier. Let's click that down. It just seems to be another control that takes the brightness out of the tone. Really not a fan. Really wish that there was a way to control like presence and resonance on this overall, just in my personal opinion. I know that the amp doesn't have those controls, but I feel like there is a little bit of leeway with plugins to maybe, you know, add stuff like that to give you a little bit more fine-tune ability over the plugin. Overall, I can't say I'm a huge fan of what I'm hearing so far, but let's go into the IRs because we all know that impulse responses are going to make a big old difference. So let's go back over to the 3x12. Immediately like that better. There seems to be a better tightness on the low end, more attack on the strings. Now, using this in a mix, I feel like I'm gonna have to shave off a lot of the low frequencies just because they seem a little bit tubby and overbearing. I like it when I'm playing by myself because the low end has some impact, but overall, it's just not 100% my favorite low end response. I feel like the low end of the real amp in real life, from my experience when Jason was playing it, seemed a little tighter, but again, I wasn't playing the amp, so I can't answer for that. But so we've got multiple speakers here. We've got a veteran 30, an old 30, which I'm guessing is a vintage 30, a RIP 55, don't know what that is, a big 12L, maybe an EVM 12 or... Okay, so that's, man, kind of harsh. Adjusting the distance makes a little bit of a difference. So we were on a large diaphragm condenser, LDC. Let's see what a dynamic mic sounds like. All right, so that kind of fixes a lot of the stuff that I didn't like because, you know, I personally like SM57s on you know, vintage 30s. Even though this is a veteran 30, that's the tone that my ears are used to. Let's bump those mids up just a little bit and the lows. Let's see how the mids react to being pushed a little bit more now. Okay, I still do not like those mids above noon, and you guys know me. I like my mids, just not a fan of the voicing of those very much. All right, let's go to the cab section. Let's add a little air. Kind of cool on your own, but I feel like in a mix, that's basically just affecting a frequency that you're gonna cut off anyways for the most part, or else it's gonna be clashing with your cymbals pretty bad. But if you're just playing solo by yourself, may give you a little bit of that presence that you might feel is lacking. Let's see, as far as other speakers, let's mix it with the Vet 30. And let's see what happens if we put it in the middle here. Everything is just real crunchy overall. There's nothing I can really do to get rid of that crunch. I don't hate it, but again, if I'm going for the super tight thrash thing that I personally am typically trying to dial in, that crunch is just a little bit off-putting for me. All right, so finally, let's check out a different speaker. Let's check out the Big 12L. Yeah, I don't personally love it. I would love to get the real amp in here and kind of compare it against the plug-in. I know Christian Cola did that and they seemed really similar, but the amp seemed a little bit more kind of relaxed in the mids. Overall, I liked what he was getting out of the real amp better, but I would love to try this in my own setting and check it out for myself. The low end can get huge, it can get punchy, the mids can get really over the top, and then the treble, you really have to kind of dial that up to get some brightness. I really think that maybe messing with some external like overdrive plugins in front and maybe a different IR, you know, if I work in some of my favorite IRs as opposed to using the built-in stuff, I might be able to get a little bit closer to a tone that I would really enjoy. But as it is right now, just not totally loving what's in the box here. But with that being said, you guys can try this plugin for yourself for free for 14 days. Aurora DSP has a free trial of it. I will link that down below in the description. This is not a paid video. I am literally using the 14-day free trial myself. So Aurora didn't even send me this to check out. I just kind of wanted to make a video on my own accord, and yeah, I think that you can get some really cool tones in here. I am not the biggest fan of what is in the box, so I probably won't be using it too much, but I would love to see what you guys are capable of. So if you guys do download this and make some demo tracks or make some YouTube videos based on what you get with the Aurora DSP plugin here, shoot a link down in the comments to your song or to your videos, because I'm really curious to see what you guys get out of this. You guys might be able to do a much better job of dialing it in than I am, and you guys might get some tones that you really love. So I'm curious to see what you guys come up with. Again, if you do put something together, put the link down below in the comments and I'll go down there and check out and I'll comment on your link and tell you what I think. But yeah, 14-day free trial from Aurora DSP. I love it when companies do this because it gives you an opportunity to really try it out, put it through its paces before you spend your hard-earned money on it, and I just think it's a really good business practice. So even though I'm not a fan of the plugin, I'm a fan of that business model, so good on you, Aurora DSP. If you want to buy the full license to this plugin, it's going to be $49.99 to start. I don't know if that price is going to change, but on the website, it's $49.99 to get this whole package for yourself with a full license. So with that being said, guys, that's going to do it for me today. What did you think overall? What are your impressions of this plugin? Have you played it for yourself? Again, let me know down in the comments. I'll meet you guys down there to chat about it. If you want to support my channel and what it is I do here, down in the description of this video are all my affiliate links, including my Sweetwater affiliate link. You click that link, get yourself something nice from Sweetwater. I get a little kickback. It costs you nothing extra, and it helps me move forward. I would really appreciate it. Or you could consider putting your name on this list of people and joining my Patreon community and supporting the channel that way. I'll love you forever, whether you want me to or not. And finally, consider joining my Facebook group, also listed down in the description of this video, where we have nice, healthy conversations about guitar gear and hoarding guitar gear, even though that's not really healthy. But nobody attacks each other and calls each other names and takes a dump on other people's equipment. It's a really actually good, friendly community to be a part of. So I urge you guys to join my Facebook group. Again, link down below in the description. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe on the way out. Kyle here again. We'll see you next time.